Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
On Rick Manning Day, it was number 28 on the mound and a scrappy left-handed hitter at the top of the lineup that led the Indians to ultimate victory. 2 straight wins over the Reds, 2 straight strong starts, and now the Indians have a chance for their first sweep of the season and a 6th win in a row. Trevor Bauer will look to keep the momentum rolling next on Sports Time Ohio. A beautiful day in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, as the Indians try to sweep their downstate counterparts in this battle for Buckeye State bragging rights. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Indians have won the first 2 against Cincinnati, and they've done it with great pitching and clutch hitting. And nobody has been more clutch over the last month than Jason Kipnis. And in particular, Rick, when you look at what Kipnis has done here at home, he's batting over 400. That's the best home batting average in all of baseball.
Well, Kipnis has had a terrific month of May, and he's been the igniter since he's been put into that leadoff spot. He makes things happen. If he doesn't do it, it seems like it doesn't get done. But yesterday, the game tied. 8th inning, he drills one into the gap in left center field. Bourne scores from first base. You can see how pumped he is. That propelled Corey Kluber to a win. And Kipnis in the month of May, 40 hits. There's still about a week to go, so hopefully he can get to 50 or more. But 12 RBIs, and look at the runs scored. That's what you want to see in your leadoff hitter. So anytime he gets up there, he's making something happen.
The other half of the Indians' attack that has been going very well for them has been the starting pitching. And Trevor Bauer, in his last 2 starts combined, he's given up 2 runs and he's struck out 17 batters.
Almost identical starts, 7 in the 3rd inning in both of them. He's blended a nice curveball to go with a high fastball. He's moved it around, a few changeups. You watch for Trevor Bauer, command with that fastball early in the count. He's got to start pitching better at home. He's 1-1, but his ERA is up there, so he needs a good one today.
Raisel Iglesias will go for Cincinnati. You can see his numbers on the year. Should be an interesting matchup here this afternoon as the Indians try to finish off the sweep of the Cincinnati Reds. When we come back, Andre Knott joins us to talk about the return of Yan Gomes to the starting lineup here this afternoon. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Kluber. David Murphy delivers with a game-tying single. Good throw.
Oh, yes.
They got him. Oh, my goodness. That's in the gap. That's going to go to the wall. No throw. And the Indians win again. Welcome into Progressive Field. A few clouds moving into downtown Cleveland, but otherwise a beautiful day. Wind coming up out of the south, so it's blowing out today. It's going to be warm. Ball will carry. And the Indians are trying to sweep the Cincinnati Reds. But the big story today for Cleveland sounds like one of those great Saturday afternoon matinee sequels. The return of Yan Gomes. And with the latest on that, let's go down to Andre Knott.
Well, to use the word excitement would be an understatement, to be completely honest about how the clubhouse was this morning. Yan Gomes has not only fired up the clubhouse, but the fans here at Progressive Field. So much so that Terry Francona said when he wrote his lineup today, he didn't want anybody to see him because he was looking at his computer screen just smiling. He didn't want anybody to get the wrong thoughts about what was going on. For Yan, he says this is like reopening day for him. He's been itching to get back here and to play with the team. He was ready to play 3 days ago, but the team said, let's settle down, let's make sure it's right, let's do it right. The last thing Yan told me, Matt and Rick, he says he loves us, but he's sick of watching us. He's ready to play, and I think this will be a lot of fun to get him back out there.
And we can certainly all three appreciate that because when you're an athlete, when you play a game, the last thing you want to do is have to sit and watch it. Right. Sitting and watching is for us old fat guys. We sit around and watch a game. When you're young and vibrant, you want to play.
He was sick of watching us back when we were in Detroit. And when you look at it, he's been 6 weeks. So he is back. And they said 6 to 8 weeks. And Yan Gomes is here and ready to go. So that's a great sign for the Tribe.
Well, it's hard to quantify his value to the ball club. We know what he can do with the bat. He won a Silver Slugger last year. We know about his throwing arm. He slows the running game down, if not stopping it altogether. But, Rick, what have you seen over the last couple of years with what he means to the pitching staff, the confidence in knowing that he's behind the dish running the game?
Well, not to mention that he and Kluber were just best friends last year. He does this with everybody. Number one thing, he takes pride in handling the pitchers, which a catcher has to do. And, I mean, he loves that role. I mean, he loves the responsibility. And I'll tell you what, when you get a guy like that, an all-star, who will be, you got to love it. And he's just thrilled to be back. A hard-working guy, and I'm happy for him.
Well, he's back in really a tremendous job during his absence by both Roberto Perez and also Brett Hayes. Unfortunately, Brett Hayes, he's a victim of the numbers game. He was designated for assignment to make room for Gomes to be activated from the disabled list. So Roberto Perez will go back to his duties as the backup catcher. And, hey, hopefully it'll work out. Hayes, maybe he clears the waiver wire and ends up back with the Indians at AAA Columbus because he did a very nice job when called upon.
It's tough to fill shoes of a number one starting catcher, no question about it.
Indians take the field behind Trevor Bauer. And we'll take a look at the Reds starting lineup presented by Toyota under manager Brian Price, who at this moment has not been ejected from the game yet. Brandon Phillips in the leadoff spot, hitting .376 on the road. He's gone 3 for 8 in the series. Skip Schumacher bats second. Joey Votto will hit third. Then it's Frazier, Bruce. And here's the interesting thing. 6, 7, 8, and 9 are a combined 4 for 25 in the series. So the Indians have really handled the bottom part of that Reds lineup.
Well, today's Northern Ohio starting pitcher is Trevor Bauer, who is 3-1. At home, he's struggled a little bit. He's 1-1 with an ERA of over 5 in his 5 starts. His one start against Cincinnati, he went 3 innings, gave up 1 hit, 4 runs. He had control issues that day. He walked 5. But he'll be ready to go today. He's coming off identical starts. 7 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits in back-to-back starts, just 1 run, and 17 strikeouts and 6 walks. So we'll see what he has to offer Cincinnati today. And the defense behind Trevor Bauer today is brought to you by Chrysler. Will look like this. Murphy gets a start in left. Now you get Michael Brantley in center after an off day. Moss goes to right. Chisenhall at third. Aviles gets a start at short. Kipnis at second. Santana at first. And welcome back, Yan Gomes behind the plate.
Paul Schreiber will call the balls and strikes. The crew chief, Jim Reynolds, down at first. Manny Gonzalez is at second. Sean Barber is at third. Our window system's game time temperature, 79 degrees. Boy, is that a thing of beauty or what?
A little warmer today than it was yesterday, but we have a few more clouds in the sky.
And not much of a breeze, but what breeze we do have will be pushing the ball out of the ballpark rather than keeping it in. So for the Indians, Trevor Bauer trying to improve on his 3-1 mark this year. The Indians have won 5 in a row in 7 of their last 9. Cincinnati has lost 7 in a row.
And getting the news of Mesoraco yesterday, probably not returning for the rest of the year. So it's not getting any better.
And rumors swirling about that man's job status as well. Brian Price, the manager. Brandon Phillips steps in to get us underway. And Trevor Bauer's first pitch a little bit high, ball 1. Pop back out of play. After Cincinnati's series opening loss on Friday night, Brian Price, the manager, said afterwards, a large part of it is on me. I've been given the task of putting the puzzle pieces together, and I'm not doing a very good job of it. It's a team that should be playing better than we are right now. He said it's not just that we're losing. There's a lot of distance between us and the teams we're playing. We're not losing the one-run game. We needed a big hit or something, and that would have gotten it done. We need a good start. We need a good bullpen. We have to take advantage of scoring opportunities. We have to do everything better than we have during this losing streak. He said things will get better, but when you're in it, it's the worst, most terrible feeling.
Well, that's so true, and every team goes through it. You don't hit with runners in scoring position. Your starters, now Cueto was supposed to start today. He's getting pushed back because of a little tightness in his arm. You know, the bullpen's giving up the run. So it's a combination of everything.
Phillips checks. It's a little bit outside. Good eye there. Full count.
But when you go through that, and the Indians have been through that this year. I mean, they're just starting to play some decent baseball. You check the guts of your ball club and your players.
Bauer into the wide on the payoff pitch. Check swing, slowly chopped towards short. Ramirez has to hurry, guns it over, and got him. And it's Mike Aviles at shortstop today, not Ramirez. Nice play by Aviles. And that's always been his trademark. You don't lose much when you play Mike Aviles, regardless of if it's at third, if it's at short, if it's at second. Even if you put him in the outfield, you're going to get his best effort.
Yeah.
And usually his best effort is more than good enough.
Yeah, Mike does a nice job. No doubt about it. Just about any position he plays. Never looks overmatched.
Skip Schumacher batting in the 2-hole for Cincinnati takes a strike. Schumacher 0 for 4 yesterday. Lifts one in the air, slicing, and that's going to get out of play. Bounced that one about 4 feet in front of the plate. One ball and 2 strikes to count on Schumacher. And that smashed to right center, a base hit. And Schumacher has his first hit in the series, and the Reds have a 1-out base runner. Here are the keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Trevor Bauer, keep that train rolling. The Indians have been getting outstanding starting pitching over the last 6-7 consecutive ball games and get the early lead.
Well, it's competition now for the starters. It's like pass that baton. Let's go. It's your turn. Your turn. Keep it moving.
Joey Votto, 3 for 8 in the series, stands in, swings at the first pitch, and sends a high drive to center. Michael Brantley will make the catch, and there are 2 down. Our stat of the game focuses on the Indians' starting pitching. The last 6 games, 5-0, the 1-0 decision, 1.47 ERA. They've punched out 47 in their 43 innings while yielding just 9 walks.
Yeah, the one thing I don't want people to get used to is, looking at the strikeouts. You want these starters to give you some innings. It takes pressure off the bullpen, so you want them throwing strikes. When they're dominant and they get ahead, they'll get their strikeouts because they have such good stuff.
Strike call to Todd Frazier. Frazier with a dozen homers on the year to go along with 7 doubles.
You know, it was like yesterday when we looked at Kluber. He gave up 9 hits, but he also had a couple innings where he threw a 7-pitch inning, an 8-pitch inning because they were so aggressive.
And Frazier aggressively chases an off-speed pitch. It's 0-2. That's also the mark of a team that is struggling offensively, such as Cincinnati is. They lose the patience at the plate. Each hitter kind of tends to take it upon himself. Checks on a ball outside. We've seen that with the Indians before. When a team goes through an offensive funk, you lose that patience. Well, if I don't get my pitch, the next guy will pick me up. Instead, I've got to do it, and you chase bad pitches.
Turned into the mindset, it's on me, I. And that's not how an offense works or a team works, but every team goes through it.
That's a line to right field. Good hit by Frazier. And Schumacher will go to third.
Got a fastball, and he didn't try and do too much with it and just takes it the other way. Kluber, both the pitches that he's thrown today for base hits were fastballs up in the zone. Maybe not quite high enough, but Frazier right there just stayed on it, and they had him shifted over. So it'll be first and third now with 2 outs.
And Jay Bruce will be the batter, and this guy has really swung the bat well against the Indians this weekend. He's gone 4 for 6 with 3 doubles. Those are the first 3 doubles, by the way, that Bruce has hit this season.
That's hard to believe.
It really is, because he's too good of a hitter to be this deep in the season.
That's hard to believe that.
Has been bothered by a bit of a sore knee, the left knee, the one he drives off of. Hammered foul. Reds at the corners with 2 down here in the first. And this is where the Reds' biggest problems have occurred. With runners in scoring position, they're 1 for 13 in the series and 1 for 24 on this current road trip. Swing and a miss.
That's the pitch right there. His fastball's been up in the zone a little bit to this point in the first inning, and sometimes he has a tough time locating early, but I like the changeup to the left-handers. Looks like his fastballs, and you can see Gomes didn't catch that cleanly.
Well, Jay Bruce with a 1-ball, 2-strike count.
Well, the 2 hits he's given up came on 1-2 counts. Both hitters were down 0-2, got to 1-2, and got base hits.
Bruce to right field, but pulled it foul. Off-speed pitch, and he was out in front of it.
This is a curveball coming into him.
Throw to first, and back with a dive is Frazier. Frazier was actually still moving to his leadoff position when Bauer turned and fired over, but he alertly dove back in time. Just missed. Bauer thought he had strike 3.
Well, you don't want to walk off the mound like he just did. Paul Schreiber behind the plate. Let's look at it. You know, that's out, and Gomes brings it back in. You can see he's starting to walk off the mound.
And the 2-2 pitch. As a foul back out of play. So 2 hits for Cincinnati. Both of them singles, but Reds at first and third with 2 down. And now the 2-2 from Bauer. Upstairs and away with that fastball, full count. And this will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat. Looks like he wants a changeup here. Right back to him. And Bauer will flip it to first to end the inning. So the Reds' woes with runners in scoring position continue. The Indians are coming to bat. No score, bottom of the first inning. Terry Francona starting lineup brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot with 5 hits in the series. Carlos Santana bats second, then it's Michael Brantley. Brandon Moss clean up. David Murphy really on fire right now. He has 2 hits in the series, a double and a homer, or rather 3 hits in the series with an RBI. Then it's Nick Swisher, followed by Yan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Mike Aviles.
Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher is Raisel Iglesias, who is making his 5th career appearance, his 3rd start. He's getting the start for Johnny Cueto today, who has some elbow soreness. He started last Tuesday in Kansas City. So this young man will get the opportunity here on Sunday to try to stop the Indians from sweeping.
Raisel Iglesias, a native of Cuba, delivers a first pitch strike. Iglesias with a fastball low 90s. Not a overpowering right-hander, but certainly knows how to pitch. Missed outside. Missed down and in. Kipnis fouling it right back. Swing and a miss. A little sidearm action. Kipnis strikes out and one away.
The Reds defense, brought to you by Chrysler, looks like this. Schumacher in left. Bosch gets the start at center, and he's only started a couple times there this year. Bruce is over at right. Frazier at third. Negron at short. Phillips at second. Votto at first. Pena behind the plate.
Now Carlos Santana looks at a ball outside. Iglesias is 25 years old. And the Reds are certainly no strangers to players from Cuba. Brian Pena, of course, on their roster is a Cuban native, and Aroldis Chapman, their closer, they spent a lot of money on signing him.
I'm watching his delivery, Matt, and he looks a little bit. His leg just doesn't come up high enough like El Duque, if you remember. But he's starting this game out on fire. First two guys.
With more on Iglesias, let's go down to Andre Knott.
It's funny Rick brought up El Duque. The one word that kept coming up in the clubhouse today is that he's a gamer. He knows how to pitch. He throws from different arm slots. And Terry Francona said the hard thing about it is because he has not been seen by a lot of major league hitters, they're just going off of video. But he's got fastball, slider change, ball from different arm slots. So it'll be interesting to see how this game goes early on because the Indians hitters really have no idea what exactly Iglesias has.
Well, they will keep their eyes on him, I'm sure, in the dugout when they're not hitting. And you have to get in the batter's box and pretty much see for yourself where he delivers it. If he has different arm angles, it may take him a little while to get an idea.
Bradley fouling it right side.
Out front of a changeup.
Evidently, when teams were scouting Iglesias after he defected and he was pitching in Mexico, some teams looked at him and saw a reliever. Cincinnati looked at him and saw a starter. And that's why they were drawn to him, ultimately signing him to a 7-year contract. Now, at the end of the day, the contract averages out to a little less than $4 million per season, which by starter standards is dirt cheap.
Yes, you're right. Well, that's a gamble you have to take sometimes if you want to dip into the international waters and try to sign a pitcher. You know, you guarantee 7 years, but boy, you got to trust your scouts when you do something like that, don't you?
Well, and that ultimately is the big question, and Walt Jocketty obviously has great faith and trust in his scouts.
Right. Walt Jocketty, a very good GM.
Off the plate outside. Now the payoff pitch to Brantley. Outside, ball 4. So Brantley draws a 2-out walk. Keeps the inning alive for Brandon Moss.
See,
our Levin player profile on Raisel Iglesias. Pitched for Cuba in the World Baseball Classic 2 years ago. And defected in November of that year.
See, that's going to be the tough thing is what you lay off close pitches when you don't know what he throws, although Brantley, doesn't surprise me, he's able to do it because he knows the strike zone so well.
And that's outside ball 1 to Brandon Moss. The 1-0 pitch outside. There were a lot of stories about Aroldis Chapman and his sort of trying to assimilate into the culture here in the United States after he defected, and it was very difficult for him. They say that it's been a lot easier for Iglesias, and the big reason is the personality difference. Chapman's very quiet, sort of closed off, whereas Iglesias is outgoing, a bigger personality in their clubhouse.
Well, and when you have a couple of Cubans there to help you out,
it's got to help.
Yeah, it has to help you when you've got a couple guys you can share stuff with.
And not only in the clubhouse, but now around baseball. You know, you go to
other teams.
Not every team, but
right.
A lot of teams, say the Chicago White Sox, for example, who
right.
they played earlier this year. There are a number of players that he can converse with that they have a lot in common. Pitch outside to Moss. 3-1 to count.
Okay. A little patience now and let him work. He did come in with a 2-0 changeup there, Matt, and he's missing with his fastball right now.
10 balls, 10 strikes. And like El Duque, you mentioned earlier, he's not going to make many mistakes on the plate.
Ooh,
there was
made
one
there, and he fouled it back. Now, Moss has had some really good swings in this series. A couple of times he did hit one out of here, but he just fouled this one back. It must have been just, that's his pitch, too. He had a good pitch to hit.
Not where he wanted that pitch.
Well, I mean, you look at it that way as a pitcher. You say, okay, I got away with one right there. You know, when you're a hitter and you get that pitch in that at-bat, you said, I should have hit it. And he knows it. Hopefully, you'll get another one to swing at.
Brantley's off on the 3-2 pitch and a foul back.
You know, hitters know when they get away. And if you're a big league hitter and you get up, if you get a pitch in an at-bat, you want to hit it. You may not get but one pitch a day to hit. That's a good pitch, or two if you're lucky.
Sometimes all depends on the guy on the bump who you're facing.
Yeah,
the better
exactly
they are,
right.
the fewer you get.
That's true.
Again, Brantley moving. 3-2 hit fouled on the right side. And this will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up for Moss.
Yeah, both Brantley and Moss really making him work a little bit.
Again the 3-2, and again a foul ball.
So it's been basically fastballs and changeups here. Brantley getting his wind sprints in, saying, okay, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me get some oxygen.
Another 3-2 pitch, and that's ball 4. He's walked back-to-back hitters now with 2 outs in the inning. And it will bring up David Murphy as Brian Pena goes out to talk to his Cuban counterpart. Mark Snip was the Cincinnati scout that went to Mexico to scout him and ultimately sent in the report that said, this is our guy, this is the guy we need. And Walt Jocketty, the general manager of Cincinnati, told you he has great faith in his scouts. Snip skipped his 8th wedding anniversary to go to Mexico.
Did he really?
I mean, that's how important it was that we have to go look at this guy.
Well, they got the pitcher, but he's divorced right now. I'm just kidding.
2 on, 2 out. And a strike over the inside corner.
It was David Murphy who drove in the Indians' first run yesterday back in the 6th inning. 2-out base hit between the legs of DeSclafani.
Popped him up, and this is playable. Third baseman Todd Frazier makes the catch. So no runs, no hits, 2 men left, scoreless after 1.
MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Well, here we are in the second inning. Brian Pena to lead off for Cincinnati. And Trevor Bauer's pitches up high, ball 1. Two balls, no strikes. Right back up the middle, but right there is Mike Aviles.
Played
and
perfectly.
From behind the bag, he throws him out, 1 away. Get inside the golf zone tonight with Jimmy Hanlon on Sports Time Ohio. We'll bring you all the highlights from the Colonial in Fort Worth and show you tips to improve your game. The golf zone with Jimmy Hanlon tonight at 8 on Sports Time Ohio. That's pretty
big.
So
Jimmy talking about the Colonial.
They're only going to go from Fort Worth over to Las
Dallas.
Colinas?
Yeah, exactly. And then Columbus. So, yeah. That's right. That's a hop, skip, and a jump, isn't it?
The Byron Nelson will be coming up next then. Marlon Byrd taking a strike. The Reds' designated hitter today. 0 for 4 on Friday night, did not play yesterday. To short. Aviles on the big hop. Stays right with it. High throw. Santana went up and did a great job to catch the ball. But by the time he came down, Byrd is safe at first.
It's unfortunate because he did have a tough hop to play. And he makes that, but then this throw, he set himself. Watch, that ball jumped up. He played it nicely. Just the throw's a little high. Santana does a nice job. I'm sure that'll be an error on Mike Aviles. Made a good job to catch it. The throw is a little high.
So Brennan Bosch will bat with 1 on, 1 out. Bosch 0 for 3 yesterday. Bosch getting the start today. Billy Hamilton, the Reds' everyday center fielder, not in there today. He really got jacked up yesterday trying to steal a base. He went in head first to second. His left hand went hard into the foot of Jose Ramirez, who had planted his foot to take the throw from catcher Roberto Perez. And from what we understand, Hamilton jammed his wrist, he jammed his shoulder, and everything in between. He did stay in the game and finished yesterday, but after taking batting practice today, reporting that he was quite sore and a lot of stiffness.
That's the chances you take a lot of times when you go head first into the base when you're a base stealer. Fingers, wrists, elbows, and shoulders.
Broken bat liner. Kipnis with a great catch. 2 down. Kind of a tricky liner. If you jump too soon, it might hit you in the chest.
A little humpback liner. Yeah. Take a look yesterday. This is what happened to Hamilton. Watch his hand get caught on the shoe of Ramirez. And if anybody's going to lose that battle, it's going to be the guy with the hand. Because he's standing his ground. He never moved him. And you can see it jammed his wrist, his elbow, and part of his shoulder, too.
Yeah,
that's the base he wanted to. Yeah,
he's generating a lot of speed going in there.
Sliding head first, he sure is, and that's the arm he wanted to try and reach the base with, and it never got there. It never got extended.
Here is Christopher Negron getting his first action in the series, but a year ago he was a major pain for the Indians in this Ohio Cup showdown. Indians couldn't get him out.
Yeah. And he even in spring training, he came back this year and hit him. It was just one of those things. He likes to see an Indians uniform.
Yeah, he went 7 for 13 in the series with 2 doubles, a homer, and 5 runs batted in. But overall this year, just 6 hits and 52 at-bats, which is why we haven't seen him until today. Popped it up. Right field. Moss says, I'll take it. And he does. It's an 11-pitch inning for Trevor Bauer. No score, middle of the second.
A series with the Texas Rangers coming in for 3. A 4 o'clock start tomorrow, 7 Tuesday, and a 12 Wednesday. And on Tuesday night, the 7-10 game, it'll be Dollar Dog Night all game long against the Texas Rangers. Go to Indians.com for the ticket details.
Nick Swisher to lead it off. Bottom of the second inning, Swisher. He takes low ball 1. And Swisher cuts and misses. And a little bit outside. 2 balls and a strike. There's a liner towards center field, dropping, and it will get in for a base hit. Swisher has his first hit of the series, and the Indians have their leadoff man aboard here in the second.
Well, Swisher to me looks like he's more upright in his stance and gets a base hit here. He's standing a little more straight up. He used to be crouched at the knees and down a little bit. He did it from the right side. Looks like he's doing it from the left. It's ball a little bit off the end of the bat, but it ends with good results with a base hit to center field. First hit for the Indians.
And now Yan Gomes back in action. And a great sign for the Indians to have their catcher back in the fold. Gomes went down and was DL'd on April the 12th. But he vowed that he would be back. They said 6 to 8 weeks at the time. He said he'd be back before that 8-week period reached, and he was true to his word. That's hard to believe. He only played in 5 games. You forget how long ago that was.
I know it. You know, it doesn't matter. You can get back on your rehab. You feel good. You do everything. You still have to work your way back into playing baseball shape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Getting down, up and down on every pitch when you're a catcher. And then, I mean, that's number one. And then you got to get in that little white box and grab the piece of lumber and try and hit. That takes a while, too, just to get in the swing of things.
And Gomes strikes out here, 1 away.
He gave him a little different arm angle, dropped down from the side and fired a pretty good pitch away. Gomes comes up empty.
And a strike call to Lonnie Chisenhall, who is 0 for 8 in the series. And that misses. Evens the count 1-1. Lonnie trying to snap an 0 for 14 slump. And the 2-1 popped him up. And that's going to find the seats over on the right side. Rizal Iglesias lets it fly, and Chisenhall strikes out. That's 4 Ks now for Iglesias. 2 down here in the second. Our injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk. We were just talking about Matt Latos yesterday on the DL, former Cincinnati Reds pitcher. Coco Crisp doesn't sound good for the former Indians outfielder. Said he's been dealing with that neck issue for a while. Hoping that, rest and rehab would take care of the problem, but he's going to look to see, well, what else should we be maybe doing? And if it's surgery, then likely he'd be done for the year.
And maybe more than that.
1-0 pitch. Remember, we saw him in spring training, and he could barely throw a baseball. That was the elbow issue. And he had the surgery on that, came back from that, and then the neck issue popped up again when he dove hard for a baseball in the outfield.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. I see where the Miami Marlins got their first win under their manager, Dan Jennings. Took them 13 innings in a 1-0 ball game yesterday over the Orioles.
Yeah, you look at both Miami and Oakland. A's at 15-30 with the worst record in baseball. And right behind them, Milwaukee and Miami. Brewers 16-28, Marlins 17-27. 2-1 pitch to Aviles. It's in the dirt. Mike didn't play the first 2 games of the series, did come on as a pinch runner last night, but in the previous 3 games he played, he went 6 for 9 against the White Sox. And he hammers one to left field. That's going to get down. It'll head towards the corner. Swisher on his way to third, and he'll stop there. Indians at second and third with 2 down. Aviles with his 4th double of the year.
Well, he comes back after pretty much getting a start after he had 4 hits in Chicago. And it's a hanging breaking ball. There's a slider that stays up. You haven't seen many today, maybe because all the left-handers. But Vila's going from the right side, got a hanging slider, hit it down into the corner. That'll be his 4th double. He keeps the inning going with 2nd and 3rd now and 2 outs. Turns it back over to the top of the lineup.
Jeff Pico, the pitching coach, jumping out for a surprise visit here with 2 down.
Well, it might be talking to him about Kipnis, who is the hottest guy on the planet in the month of May, and you've got Santana behind him.
With a base open.
Yes.
Here's our lows never stop improving. No, Jason Kipnis, best home batting average in the majors, best average in the month of May in the big leagues. Hitting .391 since going into the leadoff spot. And 59 hits. The most since Victor Martinez had 66 back in 09. He just continues to stay locked in. He's 5 for 9 now in the series with 3 runs driven in, 3 runs scored. See how they pitch him here. Went right at him outside corner.
Started him off with a changeup away.
And that fastball challenged him. 0-2. After you see that 85-mile-an-hour changeup, that 91-mile-an-hour fastball probably has a little more giddy up.
Oh, absolutely. But Kipnis has done a good job in this situation, but now down in the count 0-2, so it's doubly tough. Yep.
Strike 3 call.
Breaking ball.
3 pitches. Takes care of business. 5th strikeout for the right-hander Iglesias. No score after 2. Another dynamite performance by Corey Kluber, who went 8 innings, allowed 1 run, scattered 9 hits, didn't walk anybody, punched out 7.
Yeah, he's on a pretty nice roll.
Top of the order now for Cincinnati. Brandon Phillips grounded out his only time up to center field, and Michael Brantley has the catch. 1 down. Here's our T-Mobile game changer. In his last 3 starts, you see Corey Kluber with 37 strikeouts, 1 walk.
And if you remember, that walk was on a 3-2 pitch that had the outside corner. Could have easily been a strike. I remember it. It shouldn't have been a walk.
Skip Schumacher singled his first time up, takes a strike. A little bit outside. 2 balls and a strike. And a foul right back. Bauer with a 2-2, and it is a little bit high, full count. Swung on and missed. Bauer gets his first strikeout of the day, and there are 2 down in the 3rd inning.
It's going to be our Circle K strikeout. He comes right at him. There's the heater. You see it moving away. That's number 1 for Bauer today.
Yeah, now Joey Votto. He takes, yeah, that's ball 1. Votto flied to center in the 1st inning. That's going to go out of play down the left side. 1-1 to count. Yeah, and a strike on the inside corner. Bauer's 1-2 offering. Popped out of play to the left. Cincinnati will return home to take on the Colorado Rockies tomorrow. Indians stay home, and they'll host the Texas Rangers, and it sounds like Josh Hamilton will be activated for tomorrow's game.
That's what they say. Rangers wrapping up their series in New York where they've scored 25 runs in the last 2 games.
Tigers have jumped out to a 5-3 lead over Houston. They're in the 3rd inning in Detroit. 2-2 pitch. Swinging a foul back by Votto. The Reds' 7-game losing streak is not only their longest of this year, but it ties their longest of last year. They had 2 7-game skids a year ago. They haven't lost 8 straight since 2009. Bauer, again the 2-2. Votto digs it out down the line. Fair ball.
Well, this guy's a good player. Both sides of the baseball. He got a breaking ball, curveball. He kept his hands back enough, and he kept that ball fair for a 2-out double down the line, his 7th of the year. And you watch him go dig it out, as you say. Down and in, and he sort of cut it off because he didn't take that swing, and it stayed fair. Down into the corner, so Votto with his first hit, the 3rd hit for the Reds. First extra base hit today.
And it will give Todd Frazier a chance with a runner in scoring position. And Frazier had a good at bat his first time up. He lined a single to right field. Well, he's 4 out of 9 in the series. Bauer jumps ahead with a strike. Good fastball at 95. Frazier's picked up a hit 9 of his last 10 games. Make it 10 out of 11 now. In the dirt. Bauer's 1-1. A little bit outside. Bauer's 2-1. In the air to right field. Moss coming in. Tough sun field out there, but he makes the catch. Inning over. No runs, a hit, a man left. Middle of the third, still no score. A reminder as you enjoy a cold one to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And also a reminder to all of our viewers to enjoy your holiday weekend and make it a safe and sound one as well.
Yeah, we have, after this ball game, the Cavaliers going at it tonight.
Yeah.
Next door, so good luck to them. Up 2-0 in their series.
And then we'll be right back tomorrow with a 4 o'clock game on Memorial Day.
Right.
When the Indians host the Texas Rangers. Carlos Santana leading off. Struck out in the first. Takes inside 1-1. Raisel Iglesias struck out 2 in the first inning and struck out 3 in the second. He also walked 2 in the first, then he gave up 2 hits in the second. So the Indians have had some traffic, but unable to cash in to this point, much like Cincinnati.
But anytime Iglesias has been ahead in the count today, 0-2-1-2, he's been able to put the hitters away. He's had 4 guys down in the count, and ball struck out. So he makes his pitch. They really don't know his go-to pitch. It's been a lot of change-ups and fastballs moving around to the left-handers. I think he got Kipnis with a slider or a breaking ball.
Santana smokes it down the line, but foul. And another one down the right field line. This one's going to be a fair ball. That'll hit into the corner, and Santana's on his way to second, and he'll go in standing with a leadoff double. Not very often do you see a ball hit foul down the line, and then the next one, almost identical, stays fair.
Yeah, he went down, and he got an off-speed pitch again. And this one was pretty good pitch. That was down. That had to be a changeup. It was at about 85. But he was able to keep this one fair. Goes into second base. He looks like he's wearing shorts. Look at it. He's got the pants above his knees.
That's really rolling him up.
Oh, my
goodness. Do you think he is
it's
Payne
like
Stewart?
A day at the beach. Yeah, he's got the blue.
He's going with the knickers. And Michael Brantley takes a strike. He walked his first time up. And a pitch inside. 1-1 to count.
Well, he's not afraid to pitch inside, is he? He goes in there a couple of times, opens up that outside part of the plate for him for his changeup. The changeup that Santana hit was down and in.
Brantley pulls it. Foul by inches.
Close. Well, in this situation, Brantley trying to pull a ball. It just missed going over the bag, the very corner of the bag.
Now Michael pops it up near the line and into foul ground. Todd Frazier makes the catch. And that is out number one.
KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. And kids tickets are located in the new family deck here out at Progressive Field. Log on to Indians.com/kids tickets today.
So Brantley unable to get him over to third. It brings up Brandon Moss, who walked his first time up. And Moss looks at ball one. Wait, Glacey's already at 60 pitches with only one out here in the third. So the Indians have been patient enough to make him throw a lot. Well,
he's gone deep into every count. Very few times have they had an out, and they've never faced him before. So that first time through, he has 5 strikeouts, goes deep into the count. The Indians do work. They're number one in the league in walks with 162.
3-0.
Six batters, 5 or more pitches.
So there's 30 at least. There's half of his pitches right there in 6 batters. And now the 3-0. Ball 4. He walks Moss on 4 straight.
Second time Moss has walked today.
And we'll bring up David Murphy.
So they're piling up, but they've got to get a hit with a man in scoring position. They've left 4. They've left 2 on in each of the first 2 innings.
0 for 3 so far with a man in scoring position. And Murphy takes outside. He's really trying to pepper that outside corner, but he's been off the plate.
Well, that's the thing. If he misses, he's missing off. He's not getting any part of the plate. The one he threw to Santana was in, but it was down and it had some plate, and he got hurt with it.
Well, if you remember back to Brandon Moss's first at bat, he made a couple of mistakes on the plate, but Moss fouled him off.
Right. Yes, he did.
Other than that, as you said, he has not been on the plate. He's been trying to get hitters to chase and hit his pitch, and that is the name of the game.
Well, let's send along our congratulations today to John and Sue Wilgus, celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. John, it works here. He's been with the Indians 39 years, and he's with the media relations assistant up here in the press box. So, John and Sue, congratulations.
He's a good man.
7 children, 11 grandchildren. So, Johnny, have a good day, my friend.
2-0 pitch to Murphy, a swing and a miss.
There's
so
the
much
combio.
for getting that fastball.
Yes, indeed.
Two 2-1 pitch. Fouled right back. Yeah, John was telling us yesterday that they got married the day after your debut.
Yeah, he sure did. John's been around. He used to work at the old stadium. On the field, as he'd bring balls to the umpires back in the day. Murphy's got to go into protect mode now.
2-2. Boy, he did. He dug that one out.
Well, he can do it with the best of them, especially with pitches down in the zone. When you look at this pitch on our Nissan pitch tracker, watch, it's just off the ground. He took a little sand wedge there and fouled it off. But Murphy can get the barrel of the bat to the ball when it's down there.
Smash to first base. It's off the glove of Votto. Coming around third, Santana will score, and the Indians take the lead. On his way to third goes Brandon Moss as David Murphy delivers a big hit in the clutch for the Indians as they take the lead. For David Murphy, his 10th run batted in on the year.
That's about the only thing that Votto hasn't caught in the series. He did get leather on it. It deflects off his glove, goes into right field, but Murphy comes up and gets the base hit with a runner in scoring position. Got a better pitch to his liking. You can see the hop. It's in between. Votto wanted to go down on one knee and try and make the play. So the Indians score. Murphy gets his 10th ribby. And Moss goes to third base. So it's runners at the corners still with just one out.
Well, here is Nick Swisher. Swisher with a base hit his first time up. Santana's leadoff double leads to a run for the Indians here in the third. One ball, one strike. Brandon Moss, the runner at third. David Murphy at first with one out. Indians 12-5 this year when they score first. Pop back out of play. Brian Pena letting the infielders know what's on.
Well, they're not going to be running in this situation. You've got Murphy on first and Moss on third. They're not base stealers.
Fouled back.
He gets a fastball They wanted to go inside with it, but he left that ball away.
Iglesias ready with a 1-2. Low, and that'll even the count. Now the 2-2. Swisher ropes it foul. Yeah, so 75 pitches now. Long first inning, and it's been a long third, and he allowed 2 hits, struck out 3 in the second inning.
Well, when you're a starter like this and you go deep into the game, you're a 5-inning pitcher because they're not going to let you stay out there for much more than 100.
Another foul that got a piece of Swisher's front leg.
And that's always that always comes into the equation when you get to 2 strikes and you foul pitches off, and that adds to it. Because the Indians have fouled off 9 pitches today with 2 strikes. And he likes to stay outside the zone if he can, get you to swing at his pitch.
This will be the 8th pitch of the at bat. And a ground ball towards second. Phillips has it kick off his leg and into center field. Scoring is Moss. Murphy on his way to third. Swisher will go to second. There's nobody at the bag.
Heads up play. Heads up play.
Indians lead it 2-0 on a rare miscue by Brandon Phillips.
Well, that ball, it looked like he missed it and it went off his foot and deflected into right center field. So I don't know if they would have turned a double play on it, but you never know until they had it. But watch, it goes off his foot. And the second baseman is there, Phillips. And then Murphy goes to third, but it's a heads-up play by Swisher to go to second base. Nobody was covering.
Because he saw Phillips essentially just take a knee, and he never got up. He just sat there. And once Swisher saw that and realized the shortstop had to go get the ball,
right,
all he had to do was beat Phillips, and he's at second base easily.
See, Murphy did the start and stop. He kicked it back into gear, and nobody was there, so it'll be an error. Give Swisher an RBI. But that's good hustle to get himself into second base. It's 2-0. Still just 1 out and an opportunity to take advantage of a big out here. This is going to add to the pitch count, too, for Iglesias.
And they get action in the bullpen now for the first time today. And a right-hander getting loose. But a chance to have a big inning now as Yan Gomes steps to the plate. Struck out his first time up in his return from the disabled list. Been on the DL a month and almost 12 days. Yan Gomes with the infield drawn in. Grounds one to third, but it's just foul. That gets by, and there are 2 more home for sure.
Well, you can see where Frazier's playing. He's off the bag a little bit. He would not have gotten to it, but it's about a foot foul.
The 1-1 pitch. Up and in. When you've missed as much time as Yan has missed, is it kind of like everybody else is on the highway and you're on the on-ramp? You're trying to get up to speed?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's like spring training all over again when you miss 6 weeks. You get down, like I said, I know you work out, but it's not live game action. It makes a huge difference. You don't know the zone. You get into this situation. Now, you know, you're back into wanting to get it instead of just relaxing and going with the flow.
Might have chased one out of the strike zone this time.
Yeah. He sure did. But look at it. He's the first one that's upset with it. But I'll tell you, it takes a while.
And now the 2-2 pitch. And Iglesias gets a big strikeout, 2 down. That's his 6th strikeout of the afternoon. And it will bring up Lonnie Chisenhall, who struck out his first time up. Indians have 2 in, but boy, two big ones still sitting out there.
Well, Lonnie been struggling right here. This could be a confidence builder for him to get a 2-out base hit. He's due. You need some production.
There's a fly ball right field. And Bruce makes the catch. So the Indians get a pair, aided by the 4th error by Brandon Phillips on the season. 2-0 Cleveland after 3.
Well, grab some friends and catch a game at the new Corner Bar. It's open to all fans of Progressive Field. It's a $13 district ticket. It's presented by Sports Time Ohio. So tickets are available. Go to Indians.com and get your district ticket today.
Jay Bruce to lead off here in the 4th inning for Cincinnati. Tapped one back to the mound his first time up. Left field, over near the line. Long run for Murphy. Makes the basket catch just inside the line, 1 away. Fine running catch by number 7 as he can still pick him up and put him down.
Well, you got to go get it. Leadoff man. He had a long way to go. He was playing over there in left center. Stayed up long enough for him to make the catch.
Here is Brian Pena taking a strike. Big bouncer to first. Santana has it. High throw, but Bauer kicks the bag for out number 2. In honor of Memorial Day weekend, Fox Sports proudly supports Folds of Honor and its mission of providing educational scholarships to families of military members who have been killed or disabled while serving our country. For more information, visit foxsportssupports.com. It would appear that Raisel Iglesias, his day is over because Reds still have action in the bullpen.
Yep. Well, he's thrown a lot of pitches.
Marlon Byrd reached on an error his first time up. He sent a smash to short that Mike Aviles caught on a wicked hop, but then his throw to first was a little high. He glanced off the bat for a foul ball. This was earlier in the game, the big hop. And throw just sailed on him a little bit. But no harm was done. Bauer retired the next two batters to get out of the inning. 2-1 hit hard to third. Chisenhall fields it cleanly. Throws across. 1-2-3. Go the Cincinnati Reds on 8 pitches. Strong inning for Trevor Bauer. Two 2-0, the Indians lead it. And as we go to the 4th inning, Cincinnati makes the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. So Raisel Iglesias lasts only 3 innings in his first ever start against the Indians. Ryan Matthews will come on now to pitch for Cincinnati. Let's go down to Andre to talk about the Indians' bats that are heating up here in the month of May.
Well, it's been easy to talk about Jason Kipnis this month, and I think we all think he'll be the player of the month at the end of the year. But checking out the stats for the month of May, the Indians have 4 of the top 6 hitters in baseball in May. Number 1 is Kipnis hitting .465. Mike Aviles is number 2 hitting .440. And David Murphy's hit .390 in the month of May. So if you want to talk about the turnaround of the Indians' offense, it's been other guys other than just Jason Kipnis at the bat.
Well, that's usually what it takes.
Yes.
It can't be just one guy. You
Exactly.
need some other guys picking up some of the slack.
Well, yeah, you've got to have at least 3 guys in that lineup that are doing something on a consistent basis. No one guy can carry a baseball team, but they're easy to pitch around when that happens.
Well, the Reds go to Ryan Matthews, who they just claimed off waivers 11 days ago. He was with the Angels earlier this year. And Aviles takes inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Swing and a miss. Last time Matthews pitched was Wednesday against Kansas City. And then he went an inning and a third, allowing a run on 2 hits. Hit a batter.
Well, they have some innings to fill today out of that bullpen.
And Aviles a strikeout here in the 4th, 1 down. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt and Rick, let's head to Motown. Big first inning. The Astros score 3 in the top half. The Tigers score 5 in the bottom half, thanks in part to Brian Holiday. Bases loaded. Cleans them off with his double. It's now 6-3 Detroit. They're in the 5th inning in Detroit. Matt?
All right, thanks, Al. Now Jason Kipnis, who has struck out twice today, but that was against Iglesias. Now bangs one to Phillips, who picks it and throws him out. 2 down. Here's our AT&T U-verse rewind. Last time Santana was up.
Well, he lined that ball down. It was foul, and then comes right back with another changeup down and keeps this ball fair into the corner. To start that inning off with a double, ends up scoring. So Santana in this series, a few doubles, 3 to be exact.
Well, how many times have we said it in the past? When a guy is in a slump, as such as Santana was 0 for 25, they don't usually have a 8 for 8 or a 10 for 12 to break out of it. It's bit by bit, and eventually they get themselves back on track.
And that's what hitting's all about. You never, and I think sometimes that's what hitters try to do. They try to be perfect. I want to get a hit every time up. You can't do that. You want to get 2 hits in 1 at bat. Just good at bats every time you go up there, and then the hits start falling, because you can have a great at bat and hit a line drive, and somebody's right there to catch it, but you can't be upset with yourself. But when you're slumping, you get upset with yourself.
I would imagine one of the best traits to have as a major league hitter, where you're playing every day, getting 500 at bats of you have to have a short memory.
Short memory,
good or bad.
Yeah, both. There's sometimes though where you just get frustrated and you want to beat something up.
That will stay foul.
When nothing goes your way, that's when you got to step back, and someone's got to tell you something out of left field, and you need to take a break mentally. That's, I think, what happens most of the time. But guys that play every day realize, you can do everything right in that bat and still make an out. You're going to still fail 70% of the time, and that's if you're hitting well.
Yeah, you're in a streak like Jason Kipnis is in, and you hit a line drive that a guy makes a great catch on, and you just say, okay, made a great catch. Where Santana was the other day, somebody makes that catch, and you want to go strangle the guy.
Yeah, you get much more frustrated. But the thing of it is, when you get into slumps and you're still playing every day, if there's a situation in a game where you can move a runner over or do something, that's a positive. You're trying to take away any positive you can from that day when you're not swinging the bat that well. For Santana, a lot of times, it's drawing a walk.
Yeah. Tries to beat the shift, but Votto slides over and flips it over, and the Indians go 1-2-3. After 4, it's Cleveland 2, Cincinnati nothing. Northern Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. Well, it's a 2-0 Indians lead, 5th inning. Brennan Bosch going to lead it off for Cincinnati.
Bauer now seems like getting better command with his fastball. He had a nice 1-2-3 inning after the Indians got on the board.
Yeah, that's up and away. Ground ball towards second base. Kipnis fields it cleanly and throws him out. 1 away.
Well, download MLB's free ballpark app to unlock special offers, including merchandise discounts. The app is also lets fans purchase tickets. You can transfer tickets to friends and more. Visit Indians.com ballpark app.
Christopher Negron tries to bunt. Chisenhall comes in, plays it well, 2 down.
Well, anything, when you're struggling as a hitter, you try to do anything you can to get on base, and he wants to lay down a bunt. He can run a little bit, it's just a little misguided, misdirected, a little too hard, and throw it out. The thought process I can totally agree with, trying to do anything to get on base.
2 down now for Brandon Phillips, who is 0 for 2. Phillips has grounded out and flied to center. And a little bit high, ball 1. Minnesota out to a 1-0 lead over the White Sox. They're in the 2nd inning in Chicago. St. Louis leading Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium 2-0. They're in the 2nd. That pitch a little bit low to Phillips.
Well, I like it. 1 strikeout today, but he's keeping it on the ground. 6 flyouts, 7 groundouts.
The 2-0 pitch to third base. Chisenhall plants and makes a perfect throw across the diamond. Another 1-2-3 inning for Trevor Bauer. He has set down 7 straight Reds hitters. Field, the Indians in front 2-0. For the Tribe, Michael Brantley, Brandon Moss, and David Murphy due up. Indians 2 runs came in the third. Trevor Bauer has shut out Cincinnati through the first 5. And Cincinnati into their bullpen in the 4th inning. Ryan Matthews, who came on and worked a 1-2-3 inning, stays on to pitch here in the 5th.
Well, an opportunity for the Indians, because when you look at Cincinnati's bullpen this year, rated last in the National League with a .518 earned run average.
And Michael Brantley taking a called strike. He walked in the first, fouled out in the third.
Now the clouds moving. Just a nice, warm, hazy day, isn't it?
Sure is. And Michael Brantley with a blistering line drive toward right field to go off the wall. And into second base he goes with a leadoff double.
Yeah, his 15th double of the year. It's the Indians' 3rd double this afternoon, and he stayed back and put a really nice swing on that ball. Drives it past Bruce in right field. So, again, a leadoff double. I had one in the 3rd inning. It was Santana's. They were able to come around and score. Let's see if they can add on now in the middle part of this game with a 2-0 lead. This is what you want to do. Take a little bit away from them every inning you can.
And Brandon Moss has walked twice and scored a run. Up and away, ball 1. Moss with 7 homers and 27 driven in. Leads the club in both categories. It's the 3rd time today in 5 innings the Indians have had their leadoff man aboard. And the 2nd time it's come via a double. So in the series, when leading off an inning, 7 for 19. But only twice have those leadoff men come around to score in those 7 instances. Helps when it's a leadoff double, though.
Yes, it does. It makes it a lot easier to get them over and get them in.
Well, swing and a miss. Good fastball. It's 2-2.
Well, and you take your chances when you get those guys. Those leadoff doubles, more times than not, you're going to get them around and in. They got to pitch extra hard to get out of it.
Moss pops it. That's going to get out of play. So 2 balls, 2 strikes. This one's popped straight up at the plate. Brian Pena getting called off by the 3rd baseman. And Frazier makes the catch, 1 away. In-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. David Murphy with an RBI single. That scored Carlos Santana. And then Swisher had a ball that hit off Brandon Phillips' leg or foot. Another run came home to score. 2-0 is where we stand. Trevor Bauer has pitched 5 shutout innings, giving up just 3 hits. Murphy sends a slow chopper to short. He's retired 2 away. Brantley goes to third. That'll leave it up to Nick Swisher. Hey, I want to send along a shout out to Harold Narotsky in Columbus, Ohio. Says he sent us a letter, said he's been an Indians fan for over 60 years and still is. But he sent me some of his cherished mementos, program from the 1948 World Series, old Indians photos and scorecards and programs. And so thank you very much, Harold. It was very thoughtful of you.
I'll tell you what, Harold, that's some great memorabilia.
We had a lot of fun looking through them, and
sure did.
The old players, from Ken Keltner to Bob Feller to Mel Harder, you name it. It was a who's who.
I made some great photos. We can decorate our wall right up here. It's beautiful.
Make our own little Hall of Fame. 1-0 pitch to Nick Swisher. Fouled off over toward the ball boys, and they were not shying away. They were trying to make the play.
Well, they're tough, especially when you can't move. They got you pinned to that screen.
One pitch, and Swisher with a bouncing ball to first. Votto flips it over, and the leadoff double dies at third. Indians still lead it 2-0. Conference Finals over at the Q. Join your home team starting 5 for pregame coverage at 7:30, and again after the game for post-game interviews and analysis. We're all in with the Cavs on Fox Sports Ohio. Sounds like Al Horford of Atlanta is out. And the Cavaliers closing in up 2-0.
Well, yeah, big game today. If they can win tonight, both teams will be up 3-0. Golden State, then with a blowout last night.
Yeah. Skip Schumacher 1 for 2. Takes a strike. Tigers lead the Astros 7-4. They're in the 6th inning in Detroit. St. Louis leading Kansas City. I mentioned earlier 2-0. Royals have won 5 in a row. They've matched the Indians' 5-game win streak. They're 14 games over 500 heading into today.
Oh, man. That one was way out in front of home plate. That just made it up past the grass. There's nothing you could do there as a catcher. duck and get out of the way.
Fouled out of play. I'd have to say, Rick, that there's no bigger surprise in baseball a fourth of the way through the schedule than the Houston Astros.
Well, I would agree.
At 28-16, 5.5 games ahead of the Angels in the AL West. But a close second behind them, the Twins and Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Given where they're at right now, Tampa Bay leads the East, and the Twins started the day just 3 games off the pace and the 6 games over 500.
Yeah, they've played well. They did. It's been a little surprising. But, you know, if they can get any kind of pitching, they're going to be okay.
3-2 to Schumacher, fouled back. Indians a game behind Chicago for 4th place in the AL Central when the day began. To center field, Brantley. We got a good break on it and makes the over-the-shoulder catch one away. Take a look at the AL East standings. Kevin Cash has the Tampa Bay Rays sitting atop the standings. The Yankees have dropped 5 in a row.
Well, that's exactly why Tampa's up there.
And then you've got Baltimore, who they've split their last 10. Boston has split their last 10.
Yeah, everybody.
And Toronto's fading fast. They've lost 8 out of 10.
Everybody in the East lost yesterday, except Boston, who won. Yeah, like we keep talking about, you just win your series every time you play. If you can do it, you try and rattle it off. That's consistent baseball. Good things happen, and then when you get hot, you get on a little winning streak. The Indians are on one now. This is their first time this year. They've won their 3rd straight series with the win yesterday. The 3rd time they won their first game of a series, and it was their first at home. So this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to, clean up here at home cooking. They played okay on the road. They're 500, 11-11.
And he popped him up. Kipnis calling for it. And he makes the catch 2 away.
Trevor Bauer today, 2 hits in the first inning, but then he settled down. He mixed in some good changeups. Fastball started to tighten up and get it in the zone. Curveballs as well. Trevor has very good stuff. He's been setting him down in order in the last few innings. Last hit was Votto. Back in the 3rd inning, it was a 2-out double.
9 in a row set down by Bauer.
He's got 10 outs on. Oh, that's a good thing. That didn't hit him. Did the umpire throw that back or Gomes? He was not looking down. He was fixing the mound, doing a little maintenance down on the mound, and the ball went whizzing past him.
I was looking down at my scorecard, so I didn't see it go back either.
He's lucky.
1-0 pitch. Little high.
I want to see who threw it. Here it is. Umpire. Look at the umpire. He's not even looking down. Could have hit him. Hey, Paul.
My bad.
Yeah, well, he could say my bad now they didn't hit him. I wanted to see if he would have drilled him.
He didn't throw it hard. At least
no,
he just
it
flipped
wasn't hard, but it's not the point. Gomes reached back for it.
Some guys like Jim Wolf, I mean, they rear back. They throw it, boom.
He would have hit him right in the chest.
Yeah, that's true.
He throws it back, and I'll tell you what, he throws about 100 pitches a game. Wolf.
Time called. Frazier steps away. Frazier singled in the first, flied to right in the 3rd. Good pitch. Breaking ball drops in. Frazier not in accord, but it's 2-2. Swing and a miss. He chased one in the dirt, and the inning is over. Bauer gets his 2nd strikeout. He's retired 10 Reds in a row. For Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up following the ball game here on Sports Time Ohio. Another pitching change for Cincinnati. Their third pitcher today is J.J. Hoover, who hasn't given up a run in almost a month. April 21st. Tell you what, he made it count. He gave up 4 runs in that game and got just 1 out. In his other 17 appearances this year, his earned run average is 0.51.
Well, look at that. The guys are hitting 138 off him. And right now, that's exactly what Cincinnati's bullpen has to do. They have to put zeros up. It's only a 2-0 ball game. Get one guy on, tying run comes to the plate. The Indians have had chances. They left 2 on in the first 3 innings. They left 1 on yesterday after a leadoff double. Last inning.
Yan Gomes back in action here today. 0 for 2 so far, with a couple of strikeouts and a swing and a miss. And a low and away, 1 ball, 1 strike. Out of play down the right side. Now the 1-2. A little bit outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Gomes leading off this home half of the 6th for Cleveland. And that fastball, 94 mile an hour, but really took off on Hoover. And a comebacker off the glove of Hoover, and Gomes will be safe at first.
Well, that'll way to get you going. An infield hit. If Hoover catches the ball, it's going to be an easy out, but it kicks out of his glove on the one hopper back to the mound. It's looked like a little slider down and away. It's coming back right at him. Pushed it out. Infield single, Yan Gomes.
I think it's going to be an error.
Okay. It was a one hopper.
Now Lonnie Chisenhall, Taylor made double play ball, and Phillips boots it. His throw to first is in time to get Chisenhall. Boy, Cincinnati a little shoddy on the defensive side of things today. There was a Phillips error earlier that led to an Indians run.
He went down to just catch it now. Normally, he is about as sure-handed as you can get. But you're right, we saw one go off him, and they just get Chisenhall at first.
Mike Aviles doubled in the second, struck out in the fourth. Indians have already let some opportunities get away today. They had second and third in the third inning with only one out and did not add to their 2-0 lead. Leadoff double in the fifth, and they did not score. Not to mention they had 2 on and 2 out in each of the first 2 innings, but weren't able to come up with that big 2-out RBI hit. So they lead 2-0, but point being it could be a much more commanding lead.
They have had opportunities, no question.
a strike hit the knees called. It's 2-2. Good job to just spoil one by Aviles. J.J. Hoover in his 4th year with the Reds big league club. A little bit high. Last year, Hoover allowed 13 home runs in his 54 appearances. And Aviles draws a walk. So there are 2 on with 1 out. And back to the top of the order in Jason Kipnis.
Well, opportunity after opportunity. See if they can take advantage of one now. I mean, when you have an offense that's struggling like Cincinnati's, if you can add on in this game and don't let them hang around, try and get them out of there as quickly as possible. As flat as they are, maybe they'll leave quietly.
Well, let's face it. When you're struggling offensively, a 4-run lead looks like 40.
Well, it does. I mean, even a 3-run lead. I mean, you get one guy on, it's a tie game, so anybody can have an opportunity. And this, as I mentioned, the bullpen for the Cincinnati Reds this year has allowed the most runs, or the highest ERA in the National League. Well up over 5.
That shuffled the feet of Kipnis, who was 5 for his first 8 coming into today in this series, with 3 runs batted in, 3 runs scored.
Well, he had struck out his first 2 times in yesterday's ball game before he got the single, and then the big double in the 8th inning. And what was he hitting? 407 in his home park?
Yeah.
So he's due for a hit.
Just did catch the corner, and it's 2-2.
Well, let's see. He's going to go away with it on the outside corner. Tough pitch to hit, but a good pitch for him, for Hoover. Good pitch.
And that's way outside, full count. Carlos Santana waiting on deck. Reds really bunched the left center field gap for Kipnis, and that's probably smart because he's been wearing it out over there.
And, but the thing about it this year, Jason's driving the ball to left center field. So, and then a nice at-bat, he'll take the walk and move it along.
Bases loaded with 1 out now for Santana.
Back-to-back walks. So it's been an error, 2 walks. They're trying to give you an inning here. They've got it gift wrapped. It's just a matter of getting a base knock to deliver.
Cincinnati's going to get that bullpen scrambling as Jeff Pico pays a visit to Hoover.
And this is a guy that's been doing very well for him recently. So,
Burke Badenhop getting up. Meeting is over. Carlos Santana doubled and scored in the 3rd. He's 1 for 3 today. And now 3 for 11 in the series. And all 3 of his hits have been doubles. Fouled right back. Santana had 3 doubles on the year coming into the series, and now he's got 3 in the series. So, again, it's baby steps, but you hope it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, just stay, relaxed in this at-bat. Don't try and drive in 4. Just drive in 1. This is where hitters, try to do a little too much sometimes to help the cause. Take a line drive single.
Santana sends one deep right field near the line. It is foul by maybe a foot. I don't know.
I was hoping it at least hit the pole.
Santana must have known it because he never really left the plate.
And you know what happened? It hooked. It was hooking. Watch him go out front. He wants a little English. And he's staying right in the box. He knew he had the distance, but it's hooking, foul.
Yeah. Well, now he's down to the count 1-2. Close pitch, but off the plate, and it's even at 2-2. Pena was really jumping around behind the plate, set up inside, and then jumped to the outside at the last minute.
They came inside on Santana, and he turned it around in a hurry, so they'll stay away, I would think.
Missed outside. Now you've got a full count and nowhere to put him.
Now comes a crowd. They want to see it. They want to see some add-on.
2-0 Indians in the 6th. Bases loaded, 1 out. And a 3-2 pitch to Santana. Now Hoover steps away. Now the set on the payoff. Popped him up on the infield. Phillips, infield fly rule, 2 down.
Yeah, you can see the frustration from Santana. Broke his bat, tried to do a little too much, and hit that ball into the seats out in home run territory and busted his bat. Now watch the frustration. Got the count to full and really tried to pull that pitch, and there it goes. That bat's no longer. Very frustrating.
Now that leaves it up to Michael Brantley, who doubled his last time up. But that was against Ryan Matthews, now facing J.J. Hoover. Up high, ball 1.
Well, for Hoover, it's been a long inning. 27 pitches, 15 balls, only 12 strikes. So everybody's been deep in the count, and he's going to have to throw this guy a strike to get him out.
Missed again, 2-0. Well, Brantley's so good,
yes,
with runners in scoring position because he will not change who he is.
You know, if you watch, I mean, and these guys are the players, you watch how Brantley hits in situations, why wouldn't you want to pattern yourself after him? To be patient. You don't need a hitting coach to tell you to relax. Go talk to Michael about it. What are you thinking about when you go up there in a certain situation?
2-0 fouled back.
I mean, he gets to that count. There's times he'll swing at the first pitch when he's ready to. And if he doesn't, he's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. He's got a good eye at the plate, and you know you're going to get a quality at bat. Now, even for Michael, in his second at bat, you know, he had a man on second base. He popped up to third. He didn't get the job done. But I'll tell you what, more times than not, he is going to be there.
2-1 pitch. Liner caught by Votto on one hop. His throw misses the target. Gomes scores. Here comes Aviles. Kipnis into third. Indians lead it 4-0. Joey Votto, who has been spectacular in this series defensively, misfired on a throw to a moving target, and the Indians pounce on the error to score twice.
You know, in this series, Matt, we've watched him. He's made some great defensive plays, and he always gets rid of the ball quickly, at least if the pitcher's covering. This time, maybe a little too quickly. He made a tremendous stab on the ball, but he's throwing it on the run, and a bad throw. You got to let that pitcher. That's an out. He can get out of the inning. He rushed his throw. This time, maybe too much. It gets by him. 2 runs will score. Hoover is done, and a big play for the Indians. And this inning has been gift-wrapped by the Reds.
You know, and it wasn't. We got some good looks. Great job, guys, on the replay look. Wasn't a terrible throw.
No, but still. You got to give them time, lead them into it. Not everyone's a great athlete.
And that's what happens when you've lost 7 in a row,
yeah,
too.
That's right.
4-0 Cleveland, timeout for a pitching change. Joey Votto, he is literally despondent right now because he thought he made a good play. The throw, like I said, it wasn't horrible, but it was a little bit low, and Hoover trying to get there just couldn't reach out far enough to reel it in.
Yeah, and Votto, as I mentioned, was getting rid of the ball quickly every time up, and it was just out of the reach of Hoover. And that ball gets by him, and what an inning for the Indians. When you're playing like Cincinnati, it's 2 errors. They got a couple of walks.
I'm always gonna side with the guy throwing the ball, and you can see Hoover. He kind of slowed up, waiting to take the throw. If he runs hard to the bag, it probably hits him right on line. But
it's a difficult play, no matter how you do it. It should have been an out. You can look at it anyway.
Brantley takes off, and he's got an easy steal, uncontested. Down to second base. That'll be his 7th of the year. So 2 in the scoring position now for Brandon Moss. Is Pena going to go out to talk with Burke Badenhop?
I know what you're saying. The pitcher, it's not an easy play. Every pitcher's different when it comes to, the athleticism going to first base and the angle you run.
He's probably thinking, I've got him beat so far, I can slow up. He can take his time and make a good throw, and he didn't expect the quick flip.
But Joey in this series has been throwing everything as soon as he gets it to give pitchers opportunities to get to the base, which I can see his part of it too. Brandon
Moss checks. It's a called strike.
That's just what happens when you're playing like Cincinnati. Now, this has been a gift-wrapped inning. They turned a 2-0 game into a 4-0 game, and it's a gift.
Well, there's J.J. Hoover, who can only sit and watch and hope that Badenhop gets out of the rest of this jam. Moss rips it foul over into the Cincinnati dugout. Trying to pick up Andre's counterpart, Jim Day, down there.
Well, go the other way. Get Andre.
The 0-2. A little bit low. Three on the right side of the infield for Cincinnati. Outfield shifted around toward right. And a chopper foul over top of the dugout and into the seats.
They may want to put their third baseman over there and make it 4. He's trying to pull everything.
Kipnis and Brantley, the base runners. Moss pops it. Slicing foul, and that will be out of play. Twins have opened up a 5-0 lead over the White Sox in Chicago. They're in the 4th inning. St. Louis still leading Kansas City 2-0. They're in the 5th at Kauffman Stadium. Rangers will be here tomorrow night. I should say tomorrow afternoon. It's a 4 o'clock start here in Cleveland. But they've got to play the late game tonight in New York.
Welcome to New York. We may have a chance to do that, too, later in the year.
So, Votto, who says, I'll take this one myself. The inning is over, but the Indians scored 2 without a hit. They lead it now 4-0. MyKiaCleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. Four 4-0 now, the Indians lead it. As we go to the 7th inning, Trevor Bauer will face Jay Bruce, Brian Pena, and Marlon Byrd. First pitch strike to Bruce, who is 0 for 2. Bauer has set down 10 straight since the double by Votto with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. To right field, Moss makes the catch, 1 away. Let's go down to Andre. We've been talking about this run of success for the Indians, the win streak, and how the starters have sort of fed off of each other.
Absolutely. Now, I did some math today, so, Rick, I'll go slow for you.
Yeah, would you please?
Yeah, I will go very slow. We talked about pitching after Corey Kluber as well, and we know Carlos Carrasco last year said a lot of his success came from that. He was 6-3 with a 1.57 ERA pitching after Kluber. Salazar 2-1 with a 2.65. Now, Trevor Bauer, a little bit different as Jason Kipnis makes the pick here and goes to Santana to get the out. He was 3-4 with a 4.79 ERA, but today, after getting 12 in a row, he's now down to a 4.42 ERA when pitching after Corey Kluber. And he says, look, I have gotten a lot of help by watching what he's doing to hitters before I have to attack them.
Hey, you're doing a great job. Just keep going. We're going to go take a little break here.
Yeah, we'll see in a little bit. Now, take into consideration, too, with Bauer, he could have 3 more wins easily because the bullpen is giving it up on him. So his numbers, he's been fine.
Well, and the other thing, too, is today he's been efficient. That ball's hit pretty well. Deep left field. Murphy looking up. It is gone. Well out of here off the bat of Marlon Byrd, who connects for his 9th home run of the year. And Cincinnati is on the board.
4th home run given up by Bauer. But you go up there, you throw strikes, he hits one out, they're on the board. Let's see what it was. Looked like a low fastball.
Yeah.
that he picked on and hit a long way.
Now Brennan Bosch slashes it out of play to the left. Popped up
into the seats.
And Chisenhall will give it a look but can't get to it. Brennan Bosch is punched out looking. Third strikeout of the afternoon for Trevor Bauer. Reds get on the board thanks to the solo homer by Bird, but we've reached the 7th inning stretch with our score: Cleveland 4, Cincinnati 1. (4-1) our score. Bottom of the 7th coming up.
Well, this is back when Bauer threw that pitch in the dirt. The umpire throws the ball back to Bauer. It went past him. Look at it. You see the look he gave him? What are you, crazy? That's a pretty good look right there. And then ends up striking out the hitter. Has something to say to the umpire. See, Gomes reached back and wanted the baseball. He didn't give it to him. He threw it on his own, but there was no harm, no foul.
Well, Jumbo Diaz on for Cincinnati. We're only in the bottom of the 7th inning, and this is already the 5th pitcher for Cincinnati today. But you know what? I mean, Brian Price, this is a problem with managing sometimes. When you get a 3-inning start, you're piecing this thing together, and yet you're looking, we've got 3 when we get home with Colorado.
Right.
And then they've got somebody coming right after them. The Nationals are coming to town right after that.
You can't burn them out. You're right. You've got to piece it together is a good way to put it.
Which is why he only used Burke Badenhop for 1/3 of an inning.
Hey, look, their defense hasn't helped the pitching staff today. They've made 3 errors. The Indians only have 5 hits. You know, and you look out at 3 walks, or 4 walks.
Hit pretty well, and that's going to be extra bases for David Murphy. He's headed to second. Jay Bruce's throw will be cut off. And a leadoff 2-bagger for David Murphy, his 2nd hit today and his 5th hit in the series.
Well, David Murphy finally gets revenge on Jumbo Diaz for throwing that ball out of the bullpen. He hits a double off from the start of the inning, where the old bullpen used to be.
That's right.
How about that? 4th double for the Tribe today, and another.
He will not get a chance to score, though. He's been replaced by a pinch runner, so Murphy's day is over. Michael Bourne is now in the game to run for him, and that's more of a defensive move at the end of the day.
Murph gets a couple of knocks today. Again, he got the Indians on the board first with his base hit today.
So Nick Swisher trying to get him over, get him in. Nick has a base hit and an RBI today. And Swisher takes a strike ball, gets away, but Bourne holds at second. And a little bit inside, 2. And 1 to count. Nick Swisher still rounding himself into everyday playing shape. And a foul into the glove. Count 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bourne, the runner at second. And it's up high, a full count. Swisher with his 14 hits on the year. 11 of those have been singles, 3 doubles, and a 1 home run. And a 3-2 coming. And a chopper foul. Base hit would work right here with Bourne out there. Boy, the Astros, they may not be a fluke. They've come back. They've tied Detroit 7-7 in the 7th in Detroit.
With a home run. I think it was a 3-run homer, pinch hit homer that tied it up.
Diaz checks Bourne. He deals. And Swisher strikes out. 1 away. Let's go down to the corner for a Mazda game break. Al Pulaski has the details on what happened in Detroit.
Well, Matt, the Tigers were ahead 7-3, and then here in the 6th inning, a 3-run homer by pinch hitter Preston Tucker tied it at 7. And just now, the Astros have played it a couple in the top of the 7th. They have moved ahead 9-7 over Detroit, Matt.
Wow, that's a heck of a comeback by the Astros. Jason Castro breaking the tie with a 2-run single. 11 hits now in that game for Houston.
You know, Houston
to third. They look Bourne back. And nicely dug out at first by Votto. And there are 2 outs in the inning. Terry Francona's on the top step of the dugout. Looked like Votto bobbled that ball.
Well, he's staying over there, but
he did maintain possession of it. I couldn't tell if he might have lost it momentarily as Gomes passed the bag, but he did not. So there are 2 away.
Well, it was a low throw, but there it is. It's in the glove.
Yeah, he did hold on to it.
He certainly had it.
Well, once again, a leadoff double. The Indians had a leadoff double in the 5th and didn't take advantage because they couldn't get him over to get him in.
Yeah, fundamentally, the Indians haven't done very well today. But they still lead at 4-1. They have left 9 runners on base through 6 innings. They have another one out there now.
Lonnie Chisenhall's struggles continue as he rolls one to Phillips. Now 0 for his last 18 as the Indians can't get that leadoff double home. It remains 4-1 Cleveland. Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. (4-1), the Indians lead it. And as we head to the 8th inning, we show you Michael Bourne taking over now in center field and Michael Brantley sliding back to his normal spot in left. Trevor Bauer with 7 innings of work here today. Now pitching into the 8th, and it's upstairs ball 1 to Christopher Negron, who is 0 for 2. He is flied out, grounded out. Double barrel action in the Cleveland pen as Negron swings and misses. Zach McAllister from the right side. And Mark Zubczynski, the left-hander, is also up. And a check swing on a slider away. 2-1. Bauer closing it on that 100 pitch mark. And Negron has a pretty good whack at it deep to left field. That's going to go off the wall. Brantley with a good strong throw to second base. And Negron is safe at second. Kitten is immediately calling for Terry Francona to come out and challenge. We'll wait and see.
Well, like you said, too, what guys have to do is start keep that tag applied. He came up quickly and tried to get the, quick tag. It was nicely played by Brantley on the throw. Negron can run a little bit. He gets into second base. It was close. Let's see. He may not have been on the bag. His feet didn't hit the bag. It's his hand that may have been on it. And
they're not going to challenge.
No, because Tito went back in.
The back foot might have got there.
And then his hand stayed on it as it caught it? Okay. There's more than one way to look at it. Here's an angle. Let's see. There's the tag. The front foot goes by.
Yeah, see the back foot?
Yeah, and now his hand's on the base.
Hand comes off the... Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. That would not be, I don't think, enough evidence to overturn it.
So a leadoff double gives the Reds some life here in this 8th inning. Negron's first hit in the series, only his 7th in 55 at-bats this season. Talked about the efficiency. Look at the 8, 9, and 6. 11-pitch second inning.
Look at that. 8. I like that. Make him put it in play. He's working into the 8th inning. It's a beautiful thing. He has 3 strikeouts. He hasn't walked anybody.
Good breaking ball to the outside corner. Phillips today has grounded out twice and flied to center. 3 for 11 in the series.
You talk about consistency through the lineup today. The first time through 34 pitches, second time through 32. Same with the third, 32.
In the hole, cut off by Chisenhall. Runner will go to third. Phillips is out number 1. Not much Lonnie could really do there. The ball took him to the hole, and the runner, Negron, saw that, and he was able to just go to third.
Well, this is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. The ground ball off the pitcher, Trevor Bauer. He's had it working today. Let your infielders help you out. Well, they've done that today. But I'm saying you don't get tied up into strikeouts, because you could be out in the 6th inning and have a lot of strikeouts, but you're pitching into the 8th there when you get a lot of ground ball outs. You don't walk anybody. Make them put it in play and let your defense work. Trevor's done that today.
Schumacher takes outside. Slicing, and that's going to find its way to the seats, out of play. 2 balls and a strike.
That was a little bit of a difference, huh? 1 for 16 for the Tribe, just 0 for 3 for the Reds. I mean, there's only 1 out here. This guy gets on. That brings a tying run to the dish.
Fouled right back 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Bauer delivers. And he strikes him out on a ball down and in. Oh, is that a huge out for Trevor Bauer? 2 down in the 8th inning. And that's just his 4th strikeout of the day. But, boy, when he needed it most, he's able to get it.
Yeah, no question. He gets him to swing at a pitch out of the zone, break a ball into the dirt. And that's going to do it. His afternoon will be over because Terry Francona going to the mound, get the left-hander, and a good start by Bauer today. He went 7 1/3, 7 1/3 in his prior 2 starts. Today, it's 7 2/3. 5 hits as opposed to 4 in the last 2. And right now, just the 1 run.
He's responsible for the runner at third. It will be Mark Zepchinski coming on to face the left-handed hitting Votto when we come back. Whale of a start once again by the young right-hander. Taking over as left-hander Mark Zepchinski will be facing the left-handed hitting Joey Votto. Votto 1 for 3 on the day with a double. 4 hits in the series. Zepchinski on for the 21st time this year. Votto actually has a lower batting average against right-handers than he does lefties.
Yeah. Well, he stays on the baseball very well. He never gives in. He goes the other way well. He stays on the breaking ball. You can see he chokes up with the bat.
Man, that's downstairs 1-1. Christopher Negron, who doubled to lead off the inning. He's at third base with 2 down. A little history between these two. 3 for 9 for Votto. Two balls and a strike. Zach McAllister will be coming on next if Zepchinski fails to retire Votto. Right at the second baseman, Kipnis. Zepchinski gets his man, and the inning is over. Leadoff double dies at third for Cincinnati. We go to the last half of the 8th. Still 4-1 Cleveland. Presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care is coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Al and Jensen down at the corner with all their friends will be firing up the highlights. Coming down to the nitty-gritty here, we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Indians leading at 4-1. And Cincinnati goes to a roll as Chapman. First time we've seen him in the series because Cincinnati hasn't had a lead. Not late anyway.
Well, needs to get his work in, appearing for the 19th time. His walk 7, struck out 29 in a 17 and a third.
Rick, I realize things could certainly change, but right now, Chapman is on pace to save 28 games this year. He's saved no fewer than 36 his first 3 years with Cincinnati.
Well, right now, Cincinnati, the Indians caught him at the right time. They haven't been playing very well, and, you would think that would change, but it's a nice time to catch him. And that's your goal when you get into a series, is stay away from this guy. Come the 9th inning, and that's why he's getting some work here in the 8th.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of folks, A, who follow the Reds professionally, and B, the diehard fans of that club, of which there are many, who are just wondering what are the thoughts of one Bob Castellini, the owner of that club, very passionate man who wants very badly to win and bring a championship to the Queen City. But, if this keeps going that way, 7 in a row gets to 8 in a row, gets to maybe 10 in a row, with the All-Star game coming to that city, everybody's nervous as to, will they blow it all up? Will they start over? Will they start making trades to try
Well, they have some issues. Johnny Cueto, free agent at the end of the year. Can they afford him? Probably not, with the people that they have signed and in place. You also have Mike Leake, another pitcher out there that's in the rotation, started the first game of the series. You don't know.
Yeah, they extended.
And those are decisions that will have to be made here come trading deadline if they feel they're out of it.
They extended Joey Votto long-term deal a few years ago. Same with Homer Bailey.
And he's on the DL and he's out for the year.
They have big chunk of money tied up long-term in some of those players.
Yes, they do. Got some decisions to be made, as you say.
The 1-2 pitch. Aviles with a liner right at the shortstop. One away, and Negron able to put that away. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And for the Indians today, Trevor Bauer was just a model of efficiency. A lot of ground ball outs.
Yeah, it was fun to watch today. You don't worry about the strikeouts. He had his four. He didn't walk anybody, gave up 5 hits. Again, his 3rd straight start where he was allowed only 1 run. 12 outs on 3 pitches or less.
Just one last thought on Cincinnati. It's not as though there's no hope. I mean, there's still a talented lineup. They still have a lot of good pieces. Kipnis crushes one deep center field. That baby is going to hit the base of the fence. And he's into second base with a 1-out double. That's his 6th hit in the series, his 12th double of the year.
I love it.
You know
what? I love what happened. This is like a little intimidation pitcher. Let me go up and in with a fastball. So Kipnis, don't like it, but you know what? He does something about it. He got that fastball done, and I mean hit it hard. This guy, you talk about being locked in. There's your fastball. Another double for the Indians. They're 5th today. First hit for Kipnis.
And now up comes Carlos Santana, who 1 for 4. He doubled and scored back in the 3rd inning. Anyway, Cincinnati could certainly put a streak together. They could get hot, and they could get themselves right back into the thick of things. It's not like anybody's running away with the NL Central, though St. Louis would appear to be the team to beat. Now the 1-0 pitch. Right back through the legs, and it gets by Phillips. Kipnis will score. Carlos Santana delivers his second hit of the game, and this one gives the Tribe a huge insurance run, making it 5-1. For Santana, that'll be his 23rd run batted in on the year. Right between the wickets of Chapman, and then still had to get by a diving Brandon Phillips.
Yes, it did. Up the middle, though, so Santana gets an RBI, his second hit. Indians increase it to 5-1.
And now here is Michael Brantley, who doubled in the 5th inning. And takes a fastball for a strike. Brantley lifts one to center, and a routine play there for Bosch. One away. Or two down, excuse me. Here's our Pat O'Brien play of the game. Let's go back to the 6th inning. Michael Brantley at the plate. And Joey Votto tries to fire a pellet to first. The pitcher Hoover couldn't get there, and 2 runs scored on the play, making it a 4-0 Indians lead at that point.
Yeah, that was getting out of the inning without anything scoring to keep it a 2-0 game, but just a little out of the reach. J.J. Hoover. Votto upset. That was a turning point in the game, no question.
There's Brandon Moss, 0 for 2. He has walked twice and scored a run. Two balls and a strike. Down low, and Moss draws a walk. That'll push Santana into scoring position. And it will bring up Michael Bourne. Bourne has an opportunity to bat for the first time today after he came on to pinch run. Since Terry Francona inserted Bourne into the number 7 spot on the batting order, which is not where he's at right now, but when he's been playing lately, that's where he's hit. Bourne has batted .370, going 10 for 27.
Look
Whoa,
out.
There goes the bat into the front row.
Looked like it may have clipped her in the knee. She says she's all right. Not much you could do. That just flew out of his hand. Well, might get to keep the bat.
She doesn't look real thrilled about it.
No,
She's like, okay,
doesn't.
great, we got a bat. I got a big welt on my leg.
I got a welt, and I don't want that bat, Dad.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. Meanwhile, she's telling him, you told me we were going to see the Reds win. They haven't won yet this weekend. And it's not looking good here either, as Michael Bourne and the Indians lead it 5-1, looking for more with a 2-out hit here. And that off-speed pitch.
Well, you can see he's trying to throw some breaking balls for strikes. He's been upstairs with everything, and everything's been high on that slider.
How many times do you see this to a manager? Tries to get his closer a little bit of work, and he's at 20 pitches, 10 balls, 10 strikes. He's given up a run. 3-1.
Well, you know what you're getting the next 2 pitches, though. Can't throw the breaking ball. He's going to come right back with you with his heat. And he's throwing at 100, 101.
Houston has increased their lead over Detroit to 10-7 in the 8th at Comerica Park. Twins lead the White Sox 5-1 in the 7th in Chicago. Royals losing to St. Louis 4-1. They're in the 7th at Kauffman. Runners go. Payoff pitch. Ball 4 and the bases are loaded. So the 7th man to bat in the inning will be Nick Swisher. And this is Brian Price, the manager, who's going out to talk with Aroldis Chapman. And more than anything, he's talking to Brian Price. 2 years ago on May the 27th, remember, Chapman threw one over the head of Swisher and then almost killed him. And he was not happy with that at all. And Swisher almost took him deep, but it fell short. And they exchanged a few words.
Well, I remember that. That is no fun right there. That's lethal when you're throwing a ball 100 miles an hour and you're throwing it at somebody.
Of course, then Chapman, lucky to still be playing baseball. Remember, it was a spring training game.
Yeah,
a year ago, and he was
Salvador
hit on a line drive. And he almost hit Swisher with that pitch. 99-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yes, I know it. We did. We thought there was nothing happening. OH. It's taking away the OH.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. And that's up high, 2-0.
He's just struggling to throw strikes.
Yeah, I don't know what the message that Brian Price delivered when he went out there. But to this point, it's 2-0. And he almost hit him, and it ends up being a foul ball. That was not going to be a strike, but guy's throwing 100 miles an hour. You got to get it started.
Just deflected off the barrel head of that bat, went straight down into the ground.
Bloop toward right field. And a diving catch made by Jay Bruce that gets Cincinnati out of the inning. As Swisher's bid to open this game up dies in the leather of Jay Bruce. Keys to the game. Bauer, keep the train rolling. Boy, did he ever. And get the early lead. The Indians were able to do that. They've been able to play from in front today. They added on.
You know, offensively, it really, I don't think has been a great game for the Indians, but what I do like is that starting pitching continues to move it along, feed off each other.
Well, it hasn't been a masterpiece, let's put it that way, offensively, but
no,
not every game is.
No, I mean, you score, you get the lead. They have had an opportunity, the way Cincinnati's defense has played, to have a lot more, but it doesn't matter. They get a chance, get 3 outs here, and you come back and get after it tomorrow.
And so, in the 9th inning, Cody Allen will be facing Todd Frazier, Jay Bruce, and Brian Pena. Frazier takes a strike, 1 for 3 on the day. Now the 0-2. And a foul up the first base side there.
Chalk it up. That was right off the end of the bat. Frazier checking it out at the end, make sure nothing split.
Swing and a miss. Cody Allen strikes him out, 1 away.
Pretty good bite to his curveball right there after dotting the outside corner with the first 2 fastballs. He just fouled one off to stay alive and then comes back with a dandy right here.
Now Jay Bruce awaits the 1-0 pitch. And Cody Allen delivers off-speed pitch for a strike.
Yes, he did.
The appeal. He did not go. Two-one pitch. Boy, that didn't miss by much. Allen's 3-1, and it's up high. He walks Jay Bruce with 1 out here in the 9th. So that will bring up Brian Pena, who is 0 for 3 on the day, and all 3 times he has grounded out. Cody Allen deals, and a fastball in there for a strike. Line drive, base hit, left center field. That's in the alley. And that's going to go all the way to the wall. Bruce around third. They're going to wave him home. And Aviles will have no play. Cincinnati gets a run home here in the ninth on an RBI double by Brian Pena. They'll make it a 5-2 ball game.
Yeah, that fastball up and out over the plate. Pena stayed on to drive it to left center field. So after the walk, he comes back in. Bruce going all the way from first. For Pena, his 5th ribby of the year.
And now Marlon Byrd, who homered his last time up. And backs him off the plate. Cody Allen with a 1-0. And he straightens him up, and Yan Gomes got to go out for a chat here. Cody Allen's thrown 13 pitches, only 7 of them for strikes. So like his counterpart Chapman, Cody Allen just having a tough time locating the baseball here in the ninth. Brian Pena doubled in a run. He's at second with 1 out. Bullseye. $23,882. Many of them sort of lulled to sleep here. Either that or they're on the edge of their seat holding their breath.
I don't think so. They're looking for 2 more outs.
Chop towards third. Chisenhall. Big room service hop. Close play at first, but he gets him by an eyelash for out number 2. And Pena held at second on the play. This ended up being a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
It sure did. It's a high hop, and it's a good thing it was. As the throw comes across, right as he is on a step down, they have him half a step. That's the old half a step. Hang with him, but that's out number 2.
And that will leave it up to Brennan Bosch. 0 for 3 today, 0 for 6 in the series, and now they're on their feet. Many of them will be walking across the plaza later on to watch the Cavaliers in Game 3 of their conference final playoff matchup against Atlanta. It's been a heck of a weekend for Cleveland sports fans, though, with the Cavaliers rolling, the Indians closing in on their first sweep. And a fastball. Yeah, fastball in there for a strike. Inside corner, 1-1. Brooms are out. And the 1-1. Cody Allen, 1 strike away. And the 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He chased one in the dirt. Gomes will fire to first. And the sweep is complete. The Indians run their season-high win streak to 6 in a row. They've now won 8 of their last 10. And if Chicago goes on to lose today, the Indians will be out of first place, or I should say they'll be out of last place for the first time since May the 4th. So it's been quite a turnaround here in the later part of this month for the Indians, as they win this one by a final score today of 5-2. Trevor Bauer gets the win. He goes to 4-1. The loss to Raisel Iglesias, he drops to 1-1. And Cincinnati, it was a weekend of futility for the Reds as they leave town with an 8-game losing streak, their longest in almost 6 years. We'll take a timeout, back with some final words from Progressive Field. The final score today, 5-2 Cleveland.